Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the First and Foremost Sports Podcast with your host, Jimmy Covington.
What's going on? It's the one and only Quinton Douglas. We back.
And we back at it again, episode 35. I know it's been a little while, but we back better than ever. Took a little break off, trying to handle some things that's going on in life, but we back, and we're ready to give y'all some great content as usual. Quinton, how you doing, man?
I'm doing better, man. Like you said, just been taking the punches life been giving, but you fall down, get right back up, man. So how you been doing?
I've been good, man. Been working, chilling out, just relaxing. But, I turned it up a little bit. Going into the new year, got some stuff I definitely want to accomplish. Well, I will accomplish this year, so just trying to
Yes, sir.
get my prep time, man.
Well, we gonna speak it into existence. We gonna accomplish them goals, make it happen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But let's go ahead and get started here. Fans of the NFL, you all know Jalen Hurts, week 14, made his first NFL start, and he beat the New Orleans Saints 24-21. And that has caused some controversy with the quarterback situation in Philadelphia with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is scheduled to make $34 million next year. So, Quinn, give me your thoughts on Carson Wentz's first start and what the Eagles should do with Carson Wentz.
Yeah, so, I mean, a lot of people initially when the Eagles took Jalen Hurts, it was like some people were thinking, he's just serving as a backup. Carson Wentz gets injured a lot. But you did have just a slim amount of people, which I do remember a few people that said, at some point, Jalen Hurts was going to end up starting over Carson Wentz. And lo and behold, it's actually happening. But I can't say I saw this coming. I thought Carson Wentz, given the caliber of player he was 3 years ago, he was MVP. Of course, he was the catalyst that led the Eagles that eventually got them a Super Bowl championship. Of course, unfortunately, he had a knee injury. But this year, I don't know if, it's the injuries that's around him or what, but it just seems that, Carson Wentz, he's just out there. I don't know if he's overcompensating, trying to do too much, or if he's just not playing within the offense. But, I mean, the way he turns the ball over is just inexcusable. This year, I think, has 16 passing touchdowns, but he has 15 picks. And that's only in like 12, 13 starts. I mean, he's been horrible, probably arguably one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL this year. And like you said, this is a guy that's making $30 million a year. So, this isn't a small pill for the Eagles to swallow. Jalen Hurts, he didn't blow you away or, just jump off the screen. But, for the most part, he took care of the football. He did have a late fumble. But, he did what the Eagles asked him to do. And he brought another dimension, which was his legs. So I think if I'm the Eagles, I ride out Jalen Hurts the end of the year. I mean, for the remainder of this year. I don't see what it hurts considering, you see that pun. But I don't see what it hurts considering, they only got 3 games left. I think they're 2 games back of the Redskins, a game back of the Giants in the division. So there is a slim chance they could still win the division. But I think if anything, you send a message to Carson Wentz, maybe this offseason he'll put more time and grind in and maybe bounce back next year. Because like you said, he's owed $30 million. I don't know too many people who are going to want to trade for Carson Wentz given how he's played. So I think Jalen Hurts finishes out this year, and then Carson Wentz gives it another go next year.
Well, first off, I mean, I want to congratulate Jalen Hurts on winning his first start. He played well. He did what they asked him to do. Had 167 pass yards, 106 rush yards, one touchdown. Only had one turnover. That was a fumble. Uh, played well, showed some poise, made some timely throws, and he took advantage of rushing lanes that was created. And I think what impressed me most about the Eagles in that game was their ability to run the football. New Orleans had a lot of 100-yard rusher in over 3 seasons. I think it was 56 games, if I'm not mistaken. And the Eagles had two 100-yard rushers, Hurts and Miles Sanders. So, and the defense played lights out. The Eagle defense played lights out too. So, got to give props to those guys too. But Jalen Hurts did what was asked of him, and he made plays when he needed to. And and he only turned the ball over once. So, I mean, came asked for much more out of the guy in his first start against, one of the best teams in the league. So I want to congratulate him on that. But with Carson Wentz, I think it's his struggles. I think comes from a multitude of things. First, I want to address the offensive line. He's been sacked 50 times already. Keep in mind, he didn't play last game. In the game against Green Bay, he got benched in like the second half. He's been sacked 50 times. He's been sacked 5 times in 6 of those games. He's been sacked 3+ times in 10 straight games. The NFL record is 12. So he's gotten beat up a lot this year. You got to think about the injuries. Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson once again. Zach Ertz missed time. Dallas Goedert missed time early. I think the offensive line only has one starter right now, and that's Jason Kelce. Lane Johnson has been in and out. Jason Peters is getting older. He's been in and out. Brandon Brooks was hurt to begin the year. So you basically got one starter. Everybody else has been in and out of the lineup. We're not in the lineup at all. You're relying on, Greg Ward and Travis Fulgham and guys like that to get it done. And that's just simply, no disrespect to them, but those are not the caliber receivers that you're going to win with consistently in the NFL. Like scheme, means a lot in the NFL, but talent means a lot too. And, I think one of their first mistakes starting early in the year was drafting Jalen Reagor. Justin Jefferson was still on the board at that time. Justin Jefferson is top 10 in the NFL in receiving yards right now. So, you mean to tell me Carson Wentz
I don't think they've been using Jalen Reagor the right way, but Justin Jefferson was the better receiver.
Exactly. So you mean to tell me, Carson Wentz wouldn't love to have Justin Jefferson? But also you can't all blame it. Carson Wentz deserves some blames too. Listen, he holds the ball too long. I mean, we clearly see that week in, week out.
Which makes up some of the sacks.
He makes a lot of questionable decisions when throwing the ball, throws it into some wild places. I've seen it. Sometimes you look at him like, what are you doing? Which that's part of the high interception numbers. 15. Also has 10 fumbles on the year. And quite frankly, from what I've seen over my years of watching quarterbacks, and I've talked to a few coaches. We spoke to Kelly Holcomb. I know a few offensive coordinators at the high school level, and I talked to a couple college coaches. His mechanics aren't where his mechanics are consistent. And as a quarterback, you don't have to have the strongest arm, but if you got good mechanics and you got good ball placement, then you can make some noise. You can be a highly effective quarterback. And I think his mechanics are off too. I mean, and that's something that can be fixed, that can be worked on. And also, I think Doug Peterson deserves some blame too. He hasn't made the best coaching decisions. So, and I've heard some talks about him possibly even being fired after the season. So it's blame to go all the way around, from the lack of talent at the receiving positions, to the coach, to the offensive line, to Carson Wentz just not playing well. So you don't want a $30 million backup quarterback. So like you said, I expect Jalen Hurts, unless Jalen Hurts sustains like a small injury or something like that, I suspect him to finish out the season as a starter. They're not going to beat out the Washington football team in terms of the playoffs. I think over the summer
they got the Cardinals this week too.
Yeah, so this coming up off season, I definitely expect a quarterback competition, but I can't see the Philadelphia Eagles paying Carson Wentz $34 million to be a backup QB. Like, it's just not gonna happen.
Nah, exactly. And with that, taking that into account, and you made a great point, talking about his mechanics being off. That's why I said I feel the best thing for Carson Wentz at this point, just take his L this year, go into next offseason. He'll have a full offseason, come back with a healthy O-line next year. And, hopefully he can get with the right quarterback coach that can fix those mechanics. Because he's still only 27, 28 years old. I mean, he hadn't been in the league that long. So he's still, there's still room for growth. But like you said, he does make the boneheaded throws, and he can't really hold on to the football, losing the fumbles. But like you said, we have to give our hats off to Jalen Hurts. I think I was more so, or I wasn't really shocked, because, I mean, even going back to his days at Bama, he's always been a gamer. He started off there 26-2 at some point. Of course, until Tua came and took over. But, even then, the way he handled that situation, and even transitioning to Oklahoma and becoming a Heisman finalist, he's always been a gamer. His coaches have always said he's a great leader. And that's something to take into account, too, because with Jalen Hurts being out there, everybody else played juiced up. I mean, from the O-line, the receivers, even though they lack the talent, they have been playing better with Jalen Hurts uh, back at quarterback. And even the defense, you mentioned how well they play. You have to attribute that a little bit to them having Jalen Hurts on offense too. So definitely, like you said, hats off to Jalen Hurts. And I can't wait to see what he does to close out the year.
Absolutely. And I think another thing that doesn't get mentioned as often is that the Philadelphia Eagle offense hasn't been the same since Frank Reich went to Indianapolis. If you remember
Yeah.
Frank Reich, he was the offensive coordinator in
Yeah.
the Super Bowl season. So their offense hasn't been the same since that. And I think, that's something that's very noteworthy. Offensive coordinators, they make a difference in this league. Play calling, makes a word of a difference. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you got terrible play calling, that can definitely hold players back, and they can hold the team back for sure. So, like I said, it's a little bit of blame to go around for everybody, not just
Exactly.
Carson. Not just
that was
Carson.
a great point.
But let's stay with quarterbacks here, and we're moving on to our next topic. The NFL MVP at this point is pretty much a two-horse race, I would say, and I'm thinking it's between Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. So, Quinn, for MVP, who do you have? So, who do you have right now with 2 weeks left in the regular season?
Man, well. I don't think it's decided yet. Honestly, I think these last few weeks with, a statement game or two that could determine who wins the MVP. But right now, I'm going with Patrick Mahomes. He's still showing that he's the golden standard in the league. He's been consistent all year. I think, you have to look at it too. I don't think Kansas City as a team has had the same urgency coming off a Super Bowl win. Because if you look at a lot of their games this year, they've, gotten off to slow starts or found themselves in deficits. I think actually, of course, they lost to the Raiders, so they trailed in that game. But I think in even 6 of their other wins, they found themselves down, facing deficits at some point. But, Pat Mahomes always brings them right back, almost kind of like he relishes the challenge of coming back. Just look at what he did to us in the Super Bowl. But, I think they're as dangerous as any team right now because of Patrick Mahomes, and he's probably the best off-script player in the NFL. Things break down. That's probably when he's his most dangerous. But definitely hats off to Aaron Rodgers. He's definitely balling in Green Bay this year. You can make the argument that it's probably his best year, at least statistically, of his career. So, like you said, it's a two-horse race, and I think it'll come down to these last few weeks that'll determine it. Because even this weekend, I think, well, not this weekend, but I know the Chiefs and Saints play this week, so that'll be a big one for Mahomes. And then Aaron Rodgers still has the Titans on his schedule, so that'll be 2 opportunities for both games to kind of make some separation. But I'm going with Mahomes right now.
For me, I got to go with Aaron Rodgers.
I knew it.
Can't go wrong with Patrick Mahomes either. But for me, for Aaron Rodgers, you got to think about, Patrick Mahomes has Travis Kelce, who's leading the league in receiving yards. He got Tyreek Hill, who's fourth in receiving yards. You got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You got Le'Veon Bell in the backfield.
What?
Oh, not to mention you got Sammy Watkins, McCole Hardman, and then you also have Demarcus Robinson. And if you think about Aaron Rodgers, he has Devontae Adams, who this year I feel like he's the best receiver in football right now. You got Devontae Adams.
I agree. I give him number one right now.
You got Aaron Jones. I would say Aaron Jones is a top 10 running back. Robert Tonyan in tight end has made some splash plays. But outside of those three guys, you don't have a consistent contributor outside of that. So
that's enough.
But I mean,
you only got one ball.
But think about it. He's essentially put up the same numbers except for passing yards. He has the edge in completion percentage, touchdowns. He has less interceptions. He has at least the league in QBR, and he has the best quarterback rating.
That's why I said at this point I don't think it's been decided yet. I think it's going to come down to the last few weeks.
And with Aaron Rodgers, I haven't seen Aaron Rodgers play this well since his MVP season back in 2011. He threw for 45 touchdowns.
Yep, and he on pace for 50 now, ain't
he? He has 39 so far, and they got 3 games left.
Well, yeah, he could. He might get like 48.
Basically, he's on pace for nearly 50. I mean, Mahomes has 33. But
Mahomes might finish with like 5,000, and he might get about 45.
Yeah, he has 33 right now. So, I mean, you pretty much picking hairs when it comes to the guy. Aaron Rodgers has 3+ passing touchdowns in 10 of the 13 games so far. He has at least 2 touchdowns in all but one game, and that was the game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers where they got destroyed. And that was also the only game where he threw more than one interception as well. But Patrick Mahomes, just about the same thing. He only has one multi-interception game, and that was last game. He has at least 2
touchdowns. And then he followed that up with scoring 28 points in a row.
Exactly. He has at least 2 touchdowns in 11 of 13 games. So you're pretty much, you're being picky when you choose between the two. But if I had to give my vote, I would have to go with Aaron Rodgers. I feel like
I'm glad. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
You can go ahead.
I was about to say, I'm glad you brought up the Tampa Bay game because, like you said, I had to split hairs because I didn't know who I wanted to choose myself. But like you said, Aaron Rodgers did have that game against Tampa Bay earlier where he laid the egg. And, Patrick Mahomes' worst game, you could make the case, was last week against Miami. But like I said, he followed that up and had like 28 straight points that he scored. So I think that's why I got Mahomes, but you can't be wrong with Aaron Rodgers.
You can't. And I think more so I get an edge to Aaron Rodgers. I mean, like, you can't penalize Patrick Mahomes for having talent, for having the weapons he has. And, exactly. the play caller and Eric Bieniemy and, and the head coach Andy Reid, obviously. I honestly don't even know who Green Bay's offensive coordinator is.
I think probably Matt LaFleur, just head coach and OC. I think he called the plays.
So, I mean, he's doing all that, and when he's throwing the football, you know who he's going to, Devontae Adams. But you still
do about it.
Still can't stop it. Like they've been that good this year. And what you think about, with the Kansas City Chiefs, you can't play single coverage on Tyreek Hill. You got to put a safety over the top. Then who gonna cover Travis Kelce? I know you don't think a linebacker or safety finna cover Travis Kelce. And then, then you only got one safety left in the middle of the field. And then you still got Sammy Watkins who can go get you 150 yards in any given moment. You got McCole Hardman, who's one of the fastest players in the league. And then you also got Demarcus Robinson, who's, he plays well on the outside too. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then you got Le'Veon Bell, who in his prime is basically, you can treat him as the number 2 receiver, to be completely honest with you. So you got all those threats outside of Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill that you can go to if the defense commits to taking them away, and you can still be extremely productive. But if a team happens to take away Devontae Adams, if they can, then, where does Aaron Rodgers go to throw the ball? But then you see the 2 games, Devontae Adams missed a couple games this year, and they won both of those games. So Aaron Rodgers found a way to get it done. But I don't think when it comes playoff time, I don't think, you want to have Devontae Adams. You know what I'm saying? It would be nice to have other receiving options outside of Devontae Adams and Robert Tonyan here and there. But I just gotta get an edge to Aaron Rodgers. He has less to work with, and outside of passing yards, he got Mahomes in every other category basically outside of passing yards.
All right. I can't argue against it. Like I said, I don't think there's any wrong answer. I think right now it's a tie. If we had to vote today, I don't think you could definitively say, one is MVP over the other.
Nope. I don't think he could either. But moving on to our last topic here. It's week 14 coming up. A couple games left. Here comes the playoffs. So, every year you have contenders and then you have pretenders in both conferences. So, Quinn, who are your AFC contenders, NFC contenders, AFC pretenders, and NFC pretenders?
All right. Which one do you want to start with?
We can start off with AFC contenders and we can go back and forth from there.
All right. So, my AFC, well, I don't know how you did it, but for each category, I picked 2 teams. So, for my AFC contenders, pretty much these probably the teams I think gonna compete for the conference championship. I got the Chiefs and the Bills. As I mentioned, Chiefs probably the hottest team in football right now. Could make the case it's probably Washington, because they won last 4 games. But Chiefs, you got Pat Mahomes. You mentioned all the offensive weapons. You got playmakers on defense and Chris Jones and Tyrann Mathieu in the secondary. The Bills, we saw what they did to the Steelers. That was an impressive win. Josh Allen's been balling this year. Stephon Diggs is becoming one of my favorite receivers to watch in the league. And so I think they're the 2 best teams. I've heard some people say they like the Bills more than the Chiefs right now. That's just how some people are feeling about the Bills. I'm not giving them that much credit, but they are a good team. So I got them 2 as my contenders in the AFC.
So for me, I didn't necessarily put a number on the contenders and pretenders, just depending on how I felt. Of course, I got Kansas City. Clearly the best team in football. They're a cut above everybody else right now. Pat Mahomes has gotten better from previous years, which is scary to say. Like I said, the defense got playmakers. Tyrann Mathieu has 6 interceptions. I don't know if you noticed his interception numbers. Still got Chris Jones. Still got Frank Clark and Chris Jones to rush the passer there. Buffalo, like you said, has been playing well. Josh Allen's been playing well. Stephon Diggs arguably has a case to be the best receiver in football. They have an amazing rapport there. They got some talent on defense and Tre'Davious White and Michael Hyde and Jordan Poyer, and they got some nice pass rushers there. Tremaine Edmonds in the middle. We got some potential there. Honestly, one of my last contenders in the AFC, and you might not agree with it, they're not even in the playoff picture right now. If the playoffs started today, the Baltimore Ravens won't even be in. But if they happen to get in, I definitely have them as a contender. I mean, think about it. Lamar threw, 15 passes last game? And they still won. I don't see a team, honestly, I don't see a team in football that can stop them from running the football.
I'm not putting the Ravens back in my contender category till I see them win a playoff game. Lamar quarterback.
That makes sense. But I don't think there's not a team in football that can stop them from running the ball. I mean, you could have argued it was Pittsburgh, but they ran the ball down Pittsburgh's throat with ease. You see what they did. You see what they did to Cleveland. Lamar, if they can continue to play like this on defense and continue to run the ball like this, Lamar can complete 5, 6. No, not 5, 6. I'm exaggerating. He can complete 10 to 15. He can complete 10 to 15 passes and realistically probably make it to the AFC Championship game.
As long as they don't fall behind.
The running game has been net potent. If they can stay ahead, like you said, they can get some stuff done. They're not even using Mark Ingram. He hasn't even really been getting carries. It's been Lamar, it's been J.K. Dobbins, and it's been Gus Edwards. Yep. And they ran the ball down Cleveland's throat Monday night. I think that's one of the best games, Monday night football games I've seen in years. Yeah, and think about it. Lamar missed a good chunk of the fourth quarter, came back on 4th and 2, cold, got the first down and threw a touchdown pass immediately after that. And I saw Nick Wright Nick Wright was talking about how Lamar Jackson played, some of the lack of yards he had. But you got to think about it. Why would I throw the ball 40 times if I can run it down your throat every play and get 6-7 yards to pop?
I don't see why he gets so wrapped up in stats, especially with a guy like Lamar. He's a playmaker.
And then you talk about Baker Mayfield throwing for the 300 yards, but they lost. So, I mean, give me 120 yards passing, 120 yards rushing in the win versus 350 yards passing in the loss. Like, I'll take that any day. But if the defense can continue to stay healthy, they continue to run the football, and Lamar can make enough plays, and the receivers can make enough plays, in the passing game, I expect them to be in the AFC Championship game if they can get in, which I hope they can get in. I'd love to see Lamar, get his revenge and win a playoff game this year, but they got to get in first. But moving on to
I
our
think
NFC.
they will, though.
I think they will, too. But moving on to our NFC contenders, who do you have?
NFC contenders. Well, once again, it's gonna depend on how the seeding and stuff plays out. But the two best teams I got in the NFC are the Packers and the Saints. Of course, we just talked about Aaron Rodgers. He's your MVP pick, clearly playing at an MVP caliber level this year. Devontae Adams, you can definitely give your hats off and say he's the best in the game right now at the receiver position. Aaron Jones, top 10. He can carry the ball, and he's a receiving threat out of the backfield. Pretty much a do-it-all guy. And then the Saints, they haven't really been playing their best ball without Drew Brees, but I expect that to change when he comes back. They'll find it a lot easier to score, I think, when he comes back. And hopefully they'll get their rhythm and chemistry back before the playoffs starts. But, before the Eagles game, they had arguably the best defense in the NFL. And they have been making life, hell for quarterbacks before Jalen Hurts. So as long as they can avoid a Russell Wilson or a Kyler Murray or a guy like that in the playoffs, we could very well see the Saints possibly even in the Super Bowl this year.
For me, both teams are the same thing for me, Packers and Saints. We know what the Packers have been this year. They've been phenomenal. The defense leaves a little bit to be desired, but with the way the offense is playing, you got to think there's not a team in the NFC that could realistically stop them. I don't even think the Bucs could at this point. But the Saints, like you said, has been playing well pretty much all year. But when Drew Brees went down, offense kind of slowed down a little bit. But that's to be expected when you're going from Drew Brees to Taysom Hill. No disrespect to Taysom Hill. But the defense has played well outside of the last couple of weeks. I expect them to get back, playing well. I mean, they play Kansas City this week, so you know how that is. But, I fully expect, Green Bay and New Orleans to be in the NFC Championship game if Seattle doesn't have anything to say about it.
No doubt. Can't argue with it.
But moving on to pretenders, I'm sure you have a few because I know I got a few. So,
yes, sir. I'm going to start with the AFC. My first team, the team I've been really saying pretenders all year, the Steelers. I think we finally starting to see them get exposed a little bit. And then my second team, they're not really in the playoffs right now, but, based on their record, they're still in the hunt because there's still 3 weeks left in the season. But I mean the Raiders, man, I gotta call them out, especially considering they started the year 6-4. But the Steelers, I've been talking about all year. They can't run the ball. They've had issues with drops all year. They're starting to see injuries show up on the defensive side of the ball, and they're starting to compromise their ability to get to the quarterback. And then with that, their secondary is being exposed. Outside of Minkah Fitzpatrick, they don't really have any solid contributors in the secondary. They got Joe Hayden, but clearly he's on the decline of his career. But like I said, I don't think the Steelers are going to do much damage in the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if they're one and done. And I don't know what the deal is with the Raiders, but the last 2 years, they started 6-4. And then from weeks 11 through 16, the last 2 years, They have a record of 2-8. This year, right now, they've lost 4 of their last 5 games, including the game you just saw last night that was pathetic against the Chargers. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what the deal is with second half of the season collapses, but the Raiders are definitely they shouldn't be making plans for the playoffs.
For me, Pittsburgh is my number one pretender. Like I said, I haven't been on Pittsburgh's train all year long. I honestly feel like instead of being 12-2, they should be 8-6 right now. They should have lost to Baltimore twice. They should have lost to the Cowboys. They should have lost to the Titans. There's a couple other teams they shouldn't have beat. You know,
They should have lost to the Broncos, and the Broncos had a backup QB.
exactly. Like I said, they should be 8-6, 9-5, something like that, or not 12-2. But the
Not to
record is
mention they lost to Washington their first
their
game.
the record is what it is though. Can't run the football, can't throw the ball downfield. You know, the pass rush is the same without Bud Dupree, and they're also missing Devin Bush, who's a huge loss that nobody seems to be talking about. Joe Hayden is injured right now, and I already didn't like the defensive backs to begin with outside of Minka Fitzpatrick, so I'm sure you could take advantage of them there. So I'm just not a big Pittsburgh fan, like at all.
Yeah, if
I got a lot of.
if they match up with Kansas City,
I think they're honestly.
Buffalo,
I think they're one and done. Depending on who they. I think no matter who they play, I think it's a great possibility that you said like they could be one and done. They
even
get Boston
Miami.
if they exactly because Miami can run the football and Tua has been playing and they play excellent on the defensive side. On the defensive side, all you gotta do is come up and tackle Pittsburgh. Basically, they're not throwing the ball downfield. Basically, you got to come up and make
Nope.
tackles and 5-yard passes. That's
Dunk.
all they're throwing. That's all they're doing. You can come up and make tackles, then you're good to go.
They got the
And they,
secondary to do it.
yep, and Tua has shown that he can make some plays on the offensive side of football. But my second pretender, I have the Cleveland Browns. I don't believe in Baker Mayfield. I believe in the run game. I don't believe in the defense as evidence of the performance Monday night. The defense isn't that good outside of Myles Garrett. They gave up 45 points? And Lamar Jackson, I don't think, and I think Lamar Jackson maybe completed 10 passes and you give up 45 points. Oh, no. Like I said, I don't believe in Baker Mayfield. He threw for 300-some yards, but I don't care about that. He made a crucial mistake.
How many nights is he doing that a year?
He made a very crucial mistake. I don't know if anybody remember that interception that he threw, but I remember. The run game is to be respected, but you know when it comes playoff time, your quarterback got to be a difference maker. Your quarterback got to be a difference maker, and I don't feel like Baker Mayfield is enough of a difference maker for me.
Nope, he's not.
Now, do you have any pretenders for the NFC?
I do actually, and I got 2. And the second one is going to completely contradict everything I said earlier in the season, but I don't care. My first one is the Buccaneers. I don't see them doing well in the playoffs this year. On offense, they still lack an identity to me. I still don't think Tom Brady's just completely on page with those receivers. Bruce Arians, you know, he's always been lauded as a great head coach. But you know, I haven't seen his coaching acumen really come to fruition this season. And you know, even in times past, he's complaining about the workload of being the head coach. So that does make you kind of question his dedication. Uh, and like, yeah, I did mention the chemistry issues. And my second pretender, I got the Seahawks. I know all early in the season I was on the Russell Wilson train.
Let Russ cook.
But look, but I was saying that defense is terrible. I was saying that though. You know, all season it's been Russ pretty much bailing them out. And if Russ doesn't have a great game, then Seahawks are pretty much doomed. And, you know, looking at 2 of their last 3 games, they facing the Redskins, who I said you can argue is the hottest team in the NFL right now, and the LA Rams, who have really been solid this year, and a lot of teams, in my opinion, are ignoring. But if they lose those 2 games, you know, we could really be asking some questions about the Seahawks coming to postseason. But I wouldn't be surprised if they're a one and done team too.
I think Seattle's defense has improved a little bit the last few weeks, especially adding Carlos Dunlap and getting Jamal Adams back, who Jamal Adams is a difference maker on all facets of the game. He can cover, he can tackle, and he can rush the passer. I think he has 8.5 sacks, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yep, most by a secondary player ever.
keep in mind he missed by 3 or 4 games. Keep that in mind too. And also Seattle running backs are getting healthy. Carlos Hyde has been there. You know, Chris Carson is getting healthy, and they're also getting back Rashad Penny. So their ground game is going to be something to reckon with, you know, going forward. If the offensive line can get some push, you know, you got Russ, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. So, you know, I wouldn't necessarily consider them a pretender. I think they could be anybody on any given day, but I also feel like they could lose to anybody on any given day too. So, but for my pretender, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The front seven is amazing, but the defensive backs I have some major questions with. They're young in the secondary and unproven, to be quite frank. And I think when you play teams like New Orleans and Green Bay and Seattle, they're going to get the defensive backs are going to get exposed, and it just is what it is. And you say offensively, they have no identity. You know, Tom Brady has top flight weapons. You know, you got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, you know, Antonio Brown. Gronk is playing a lot better a lot lately. And then you have Ronald Jones, who was one of the league leaders in rushing for a long period of time. And you got Leonard Fournette. So I'm like, you know, you kind of week to week, you kind of don't know what their offense is going to be like. And, you know, I think, you know, you can blame the pandemic and other stuff about why the offensive chemistry isn't where it should be right now. But I just don't believe in the offense or the defensive backs right now. So and that's why I have them as a pretender.
No doubt.
Anything else you want to add?
Man, I think that was pretty much all I had. Oh, real quick, it's a few college football conference championships this weekend. I had to get some of your picks. So we got Bama and Florida. Who you rolling with?
As much as this pains me to say, I got to go with Bama. I feel like I really don't even want Florida to win because I feel like
stomp y'all.
if Florida was to win, I feel like the college football playoff committee wouldn't want a 2-loss SEC champion in, even though the SEC is year in and year out the best conference in football, top up, top down. So for the sake of them not cheating, the SEC, Bama needs to win.
No doubt. I got Bama. Then I think you got the rematch, Clemson and Notre Dame. How you think that one gonna go this time?
Clemson. Trevor Lawrence gonna be the difference.
No doubt. I got Clemson too. And then Big Ten, Ohio State, Northwestern.
Northwestern has played some good ball this year.
They have.
I gotta go.
On them.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm gonna go with Ohio State.
For sure. You know I'm rolling with the guys. And then shoot. You know what? Who cares about the Pac-12? USC probably gonna win anyway. Hey, but that quarterback, Keaton Slovis, he gonna be good.
Yeah,
he gonna be legit.
He got a bright future.
For sure. But man, I think that's pretty much all I had.
That's all I got to add to. I'm just glad to be back.
For sure. It's good to be back. Good to be back with our people.
Yes, sir. But that's all we got for y'all today. Shorter show today. I just want to thank y'all for continuing to support us. This is episode 35 of the First and Foremost Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jimmy Covington.
And I'm the one and only, Quinton Douglas.
We out. Thank y'all.
Deuces.